Hey guys, welcome to another build order tutorial. This time we have a very fun TvT build shown to us by Byun. It's an in-base Marauder Proxy. It can be done on a few maps, ideally ones that have a big main base. As we start the game here, send that SCV out immediately. Get a 13 supply depot. Make sure to send that SCV to a location close to your opponent's main, where there is no vision from your opponent, as we see Byun doing. Get a 15 barracks in that proxy location, and then squeeze in a 15 refinery. You are occasionally halting your SCV production. Byun sends out an SCV to scout for 2 racks around his base, which you can also do. The barracks done, lift it into the opponent's main, get your orbital, put a tech lab on that barracks, get your second refinery, and a supply depot. The tech lab done, start up your first Marauder. Fill up all of your refineries. When you have 100 gas, get a factory. And then with your next 50 gas, get Marauder slow. Continue producing Marauders. Get another depot. Around now, reveal those Marauders. Start the attack, start killing some SCVs. When they respond, kite back to that little corner that you made with your barracks up against the edge of the base. And when possible, focus fire the military units. Get a starport, build a tech lab on your factory, and hopefully you've won the game by now. Let's go on to the build discussion. The strengths. Cheese. It's cheesy. It wins immediately sometimes. They'll see the Marauders and just instantly tap out. That's what happens. It is one of the best cheeses because if it does go unscouted, like the SCV doesn't see the barracks lifted into the main base, it does a lot of damage, but it also has to do a lot of damage. I'll talk about that in the weaknesses. So the weaknesses, it's cheese. If it is scouted, the barracks can be literally blocked with just a single SCV. It won't be able to land. If your Marauder does not have slow and it is alone when they pull the SCVs and bring the Reaper back, it can die and they won't have the same effect. Marauders don't shoot fast and they don't shoot actually that hard against non-armored units. So you really need the combination of the Marauder's slow tagging military units plus the choke against the SCVs to actually quell all of the damage potential of your opponent so your Marauders don't die, and then they can slowly work on the SCVs, because if they're just on their lonesome getting attacked and slowly dying themselves, doesn't work out so well. Takes a little while for them to actually be effective. The complete opposite of like a Hellion drop, for instance, which does its damage immediately and fades quickly. If scouted fast enough, totally unusable. As I said, the SCV would block out the barracks, and you'd be pretty screwed. If Marauders are surrounded by the SCVs, which is the opponent's goal here, the Marauders just won't do enough damage. Now, SCVs won't be doing a lot of damage to the Marauders, to be fair, but that's on top of maybe a Marine helping out. So you have the SCVs and Marauders not really killing each other that quickly. It's kind of a dumb battle, but it's one that, because you don't have that much firepower with building one Marauder at a time, the SCVs being pulled in a surround actually are, they're better. And that is how you don't do enough damage, which is possible, but if you're microing correctly, is actually not that likely. You should be able to get quite a few SCV kills. Some tips and tricks. Proxy the barracks right next to where you'll plant it in base. So that seems like a pretty obvious one, but just to make sure, kind of have a lay of the land of the maps, take a look at it, be like, oh, okay, I know where I want to proxy, and then make sure it's right next to where your actual proxy will be in their base, right? Those extra couple of seconds can be a big deal if you're like, oh, I don't know where to put it, I don't know, and then you have to lift it for 5-10 seconds instead of just immediately plopping it down. Use the choke created with the barracks and the edge of the base to block SCV surrounds. So if that isn't clear, that also means to make sure to have one. Do not just plant the barracks in the middle of their base. It's not going to really help that much. So you already are kind of tucking it into the corner anyways, because you don't want it to be scouted, but then to make sure that it has a tech lab available for placement and that it still has a bit of a wedge the Marauders can get into. If necessary, build a Hellion at home to help against harassment. That's what Byun had to do. The Reaper came across and he was like, okay, I'll just halt the tech lab and build a single Hellion. If nothing's coming across because they're panicking back at home, then, you know, good for you. Just get a starport and get the tech lab and move on to a Cyclone and, well, whatever else you want to get, really. Target non-SCVs with Marauders whenever possible. So I said military units, you get the idea. Because you have Marauders slow and Marauders have good range, you can tag Reapers and Marines and they won't be able to micro back. Again, they won't die that quickly, but neither will your Marauders. So the idea is that eventually you have 3 or even 4 Marauders. When you tag something, it does go down with the single shot of all 4 Marauders. And then that's easy breezy path to victory right there. So it's a big cheese, guys, but it's a fun one, and you can even double up the barracks, which I might do a build order on in the future. Funnily enough, when Byun did this versus Cure, as we saw, it won, and then Cure did the exact same thing, but doubled it up with 2 barracks in the next game that they played, and Cure won. So it actually has a pretty high win record when it goes unscouted, when the SCV literally doesn't check its own main base. So I know TvTs can be frustrating, guys. Sometimes you just want to tap out immediately. Instead of tapping out immediately, try out this cheese, and then tap out if it doesn't work, no big deal. At least you tried, and I can almost guarantee it's going to get you some free MMR. So go out there and have fun. Good luck on ladder, and I'll see you next time.